Okay.
Myself. And hey, everybody, this is Team Bad Decisions. I'm Brandon Burns, and I'm joined here on this side of me, now that I got my camera all flipped. My friend Ryan. You want to say hi to the people, Ryan?
How's it going, guys?
Hey, we're here. GW has just been rapid firing releases with rules and faction focuses, 9th edition stuff everywhere. Every day it's like, I was going to say something I shouldn't have said, but it's like a Korean barbecue where I just hold my plate up, or then they just shave a bunch of meat. They give me my daily dose of 40k, new 40k rules, 40k everything. Just keep shaving it on my plate until I get enough. But we'll go through like a bunch of the stuff kind of as it happens, and we'll start it out since people kind of trickle into the stream. I think we'll start not with the faction focuses and the rules yet. We'll start with the combat patrol, especially something that I'm super excited about. And
Yeah, I think we'll touch on it again a little later too,
yeah,
just so we can keep the good word going here.
gotta keep the hype up. Gotta keep
Yeah.
hype where hype is when hype's due. Well, I don't know, some shit like that. I don't know. But Combat Patrol dropped today, and for those of you that are not like in the
Aware.
know of what Combat Patrol was, Combat Patrol is
Possibly the greatest rendition of 40k ever.
yeah, in my opinion, some of the most fun 40k games I've played. So 40k is usually at like a competitive 2,000 point level. So you're looking at somewhere between, I don't know, 6 to 20 units. Some skew higher, some skew lower. And you're looking at like a $200 to $1,000 price tag, right, Ryan? Like,
Yeah, oh,
easily.
easily, especially if you want that very special English resin crack.
Yeah. The special Forge World drugs everyone's been crushing up. So, but Combat Patrol is played, and they actually have some armies, example armies in the article, at a much smaller level, like I don't know, four units, maybe 5 units, including characters.
I think I saw five and six there in most of them.
Yeah, and I think Combat Patrol, and what is really cool with those armies is that GW is gonna support it more, because the Indomitus Crusade box, if you looked at their armies for Space Marines and for Necrons, both those armies were the Indomitus Crusade box.
Perfect Combat Patrol size armies, both of them. Be real interesting to see how they hash out points wise in the new edition.
Yeah, 100%. So the new Indomitus Crusade, which is the starter box for 40k, is now a complete Combat Patrol set. 2 Combat Patrol armies and everything. I'd like to see the balance in that, because if we
that'll be interesting.
If we scroll down, they can see it. We got the Necron army looks to have a Lord character, 3 of the melee destroyers, and then 20 Necrons with
warriors.
Yeah, 20 warriors. And then also, while we're on this Necron thing, Ryan, did you see that GW's releasing a new Necron warrior box?
Yes,
with a max size squad in it.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. Yeah. Never have we been able to get that from GW. It's amazing.
Yeah, I really hope that that's kind of where they lean more towards. Like, if you're going to get some of these troop choices, if troops are going to be not quite as essential anymore in 40k as a whole when you play the big style games.
Yeah, because definitely, if they're not as essential, I don't want to have to buy 2 boxes just to get 1 unit. That, I mean, before when it was, well, you have to take them, so here's your 5 guys. I need 10 to be effective with the thing you're telling me I have to use.
Yeah. And
so
from a business perspective, though, if you look at what you need for combat patrol, it is the old style. It's the 1 to 3 troops and 1 to 2 HQs.
Yeah.
Because you could only do the patrol detachment.
Yep,
means...
I think it was 2 HQ maximum, 3 troops maximum, and then 1 fast attack, heavy support, elite, and flyers.
So 0 to 2 on each of those.
Which, I mean, a lot of Imperial armies always had a really hard time at that 500 point cap, even filling, well, I mean, unless you're Imperial Guard, then you can go ham and fill out the entire thing. But, like, my Space Wolves, if I wanted to take a fast attack, 9 times out of 10, that meant I wasn't taking a heavy support or a flyer.
Yeah.
And 100%. that was really where I always hit my kind of tiers for my power level, I guess I'd call it, was the base detachment plus a flyer and a heavy support to back it up. But that's what I liked so much about the combat patrol, was I couldn't quite hit the prime spot for my favorite area with my army. So it was always a very much more tactical game.
Yeah, I agree. They're significantly more, in my experience, tactical games. But something that I don't think that they addressed, that they may address in a future release of this, because this is still just preliminary rules that they decided to share with us, is if there's going to be like a toughness cap or a wound cap.
Yeah, as we have seen in the past. But I mean, with it, that may be something that the tournaments themselves put in place, because GW was never real big on that themselves.
Yeah, they're not super big on restrictions. Also, although more so now than before, they seem to definitely be tweaking. I mean, we asked for more terrain rules and we got 6 pages.
Oh, of them, so. Good God. Yeah, we're going to need an entire show just to speculate on all that. I think we can cut it down to 20 minutes if we're lucky, but
maybe we'll just go over the bullet points. It does seem like the bullet points are easier to understand than the paragraphs.
Definitely, and the way they wrote them out was, sorry, I'm not a mathematician. I had to break down every listing to figure it out myself. So
we're gonna need to hire some real lawyers to deal with the 40K rules lawyers and all the wording in that.
Well, that's handy. We do have quite a number of real lawyers that are rules lawyers, so that'll be the new hotness in 2021.
Yeah, I agree. I think so. What do you think combat patrol? What do you think armies faction wise will shine? At least initially, off the top of your head.
In the smaller games, I hate to sound like it. I've always loved Dark Eldar, Drakari for smaller games. They're cheap. You can get a lot of units. They've got all of the Eldar bonuses, being quick, decently useful shooting, not hugely powerful. They don't deal with Marines very well in shooting, but they do have good close combat options at low points.
Yeah, I think I'm under your same exact logic. I agree with you with Dark Eldar, but I would pose Tyranids.
Tyranids are always a good choice at low points values.
Yeah,
because I mean, you just flood them.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think that I do 2 of the Broodlords or 2 Flying Hive Tyrants, and then I fill the rest of that whole thing out. 2 flyers, 2 heavy support, 2 fast attack, 2 elites, and 3 troops. And
all with Gaunt variants?
The troops will all be Gaunt variants, probably, if not Rippers. The The heavy support, I may bring Biovores because they're cheap and they put out mortal wounds.
Well,
So,
they're cheap right now. They may not be.
yeah, that's true. They may not be cheap. Tyrannid Flyers have some cheap options. We'll see where that shakes out. They're
Yeah.
not good options, but a flyer, like I think any army, just like you said, that's cheap and can fill out all these slots is going to have
Is
a
going
leg
to
up.
do well.
Yeah.
But then again, you're going to be running, if I remember right, the last combat patrol event I played at Adepticon, wasn't there, it seems like there was some kind of low time limit, like an hour and a half to play the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's going to be the other thing you're butting up against is the clock.
Yes. 100%.
But definitely another upside with the new rules at 500 points. What size table does that entail? Like a little bit bigger than a kill team table, isn't it?
Yeah, you are. I'm scrolling up right now. It looks like they don't give it in the mission. They don't give the table size. It's
The
up right
dimensions.
44
But
by 30. So
okay, so I mean you are definitely looking at, if you're running bugs with a full loadout, max squads of everything, you've got waves for days. You're going to be dropping the command point to put units in reserve right off go. And turn 3, you're going to be coming in from all angles. So, I mean, that's definitely something to think about. Whereas with the Dark Eldar, you're going to have the speed to get from corner to corner or right into the middle of the table and make them come to you. But
yeah,
There so much speculation here and so many different options and ideas that are bouncing around. I'm gonna have to hire a full-time painter to get half of these armies made.
yeah, yeah. And what's good about Combat Patrol is it doesn't break the bank to have to make a Combat Patrol army.
No, not at all. So maybe I'm gonna have to get a hold of Nurgle Matt and throw him a few shekels a week and
Yeah. So they did release one mission for Combat Patrol, this Eternal War incisive attack. Interesting things about it, just off the bat, is it's an Eternal War mission, which assumes that there's going to be Maelstrom of War missions for Combat Patrol too, which is the most support I've ever seen Combat Patrol get, is a full set of missions.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, that's the other thing that I was thinking about earlier this week with the different point value table sizes. That's really they're gonna have to get really intricate with some of their mission design now.
Yeah.
Which I don't doubt that they've got teams and teams working on it. Because I've been listening to a couple other podcasts and they've got guys that are playtesters and they're the non-disclosure agreements. Yeah. Well, and the non-disclosure agreements have to be bigger than the 40K rule book right now.
Yeah. Well, I think you hit the nail on the head because the map shown for this mission only has dimensions from the center of the table.
Yeah.
Which means you could play on any table. I could play on a clover-shaped dining room table and still be able to place my deployment zones and all the objectives for this game.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, just is the super smart. Is
yeah. In this weekend, I'm gonna have to go out to my my game table and start making some measurements and cutting some blocks off of it so I can figure out the different table sizes and start getting a visual representation so I can start figuring this out a little better. Because lately my brain's been so frazzled that I hear numbers and I know I used to have an idea what all these measurements were, but we're blowing the normal 4x4, 4x6 out of the water.
Yeah, so
And
it's not quite half a table. The 2,000 point table is 44 inches wide too, but it's 5 feet long, so
yep.
it's
So we're losing a foot off of the
no,
length of the.
it's exactly half. 44 by
Okay.
30 is exactly half of a 2,000 point table.
Okay. So, which I mean, that's good because one of our local shops in particular, their big tables, the number of tables they have just doubled for combat patrol games.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
as much
those
as you
are,
enjoy bumping elbows with people, but 40K has
yeah,
taught me
no,
how to bump elbows anyway.
yeah, no social distancing needed here.
Yeah. Interesting for this mission is they're going with sweep and clear, which is something I don't think I've seen 40K do before. But you hold objectives even without models there. Like
Yep.
if you were the last one to hold it, you hold it until your opponent can take it from you.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of this idea because if I'm holding the line moving forward, why am I losing control of the objective I just walked away from while I've still got a solid force around it controlling it
Yeah.
just because I'm not sitting on it?
And I think this harkens back to exactly what you said earlier. If you could flood the board with, a bunch of units, and then all you have to do is hold the center and yours for turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. Even if you die and you don't kill anything, but you've held most of the objectives for 3-4 turns,
Yeah.
you're gonna win that game.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think we're going to be running into whole new levels of board control, and just speed's going to be the new thing until people start getting the hang of controlling board edges and the new outflanking. I think we may even now. I say this with, I'm gonna give it 2 grains of salt.
Ooh, give it to me. Give it to me, Ryan.
Drop pods.
Okay.
Boom.
Yeah, drop pods could be good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with drop pods.
Well, if the rules stand mixing previous editions with this one, that means turn 1 they come in your deployment, turn 2 center, turn 3 anywhere.
I think that's even better than what you. I think turn 1 they can, for the rules of 9th edition, the drop pod isn't withholden to the reserve rules.
Okay.
I think the drop pod turn 1 can come in anywhere outside 9 inches of an opponent.
Okay. So
it's pretty good.
How,
It's pretty
how well do you have your objective guarded?
Yeah. And I think drop pods would be one of the better ways of stopping another army from outflanking you.
Yep.
Because even if they come in on the sides, they have to be 9 inches away from a model. And if you drop the drop pod in and just open up the doors.
Yep. If you open those doors, you're covering a 20-some inch area.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's almost almost the full width of your deployment zone. And looking at this deployment map, 2 drop pods could cover the overall area, the objectives in the middle pretty well.
Yeah. The only problem with drop pods is that
Primaris
can't be in them yet.
Yep. And they're crap.
Yeah. I mean, they're great for the tacticalness of it, but not for
anything else.
So,
they're great for holding objectives once.
Yeah, I agree. So we're looking at the armies kind of like we touched on earlier, but we got sidetracked because I sidetracked us.
Yeah.
Another thing that's very interesting is that both the Necron army and the Space Marine army perfectly 25 power level.
Okay.
So
accident?
I don't think it's an accident. I think it's it's a great game design. The Space Marine Primaris Lieutenant He's the one that's reroll wounds of 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
The captain's reroll hits of 1. I
Yep.
believe so. 5 assault intercessors with the new chain blade. The ancient is the dude with the banner, and he's
Yep.
the guy that if someone dies, they come back. 3 blade guard veteran,
Mm-hmm.
which I believe that's a storm shield, so we could speculate that that's a 3-up invul save, which is going to be great. They're going to be a rock to try and get rid of. 2 wounds
Yeah.
apiece with a 3-up invul save. Crazy. And then 3 outriders. Now, Eric was talking about some speculation on these outriders.
Mm-hmm.
Given that they're in an army of 25 power level, like, I thought that they're going to be a minimum of 100 points each. But
100 points a unit or 100 points a model?
100 points a model. Have you seen the stat lines of these guys?
I believe I did. Let me see if I can dig it up while we're talking about it, but continue.
So they are movement 14, toughness 5, strength 4, 2 base attacks, but if they charge, they get 4 attacks with the Primaris Chainsword. So it's an extra AP, strength 4, 4 attacks each, so that's 12 attacks. They're 4 wounds apiece. And not only do they have a pistol, so they're shooting in combat, the front guns of those are a twin-linked heavy bolter.
Oh, wow.
So they're a movement 14, and now bikes don't get a -1 to hit on heavy weapons when they move, because they're not infantry. So that squad of 3 is moving, putting out 6 heavy bolters worth of shots, charging, putting out 12 close combat AP1 strength 4 attacks.
Yeah.
I think they're 100 points a model. Easy, worth of points. But they may not see a points jump until
later.
after they come out.
Until after the all of the Raven Wing guys get their claws into them. The Raven Wings and the Scars.
I think Scars are going to be great. I think Raven Wing's going to be great. I even think
ooh, that's something.
Imperial Fists.
Yeah.
Because they got Bolter Drill.
Yeah. Think about Primaris Black Knights.
I mean, I don't think that these guys are your Black Knights, but I think if they did make Primaris Black Knights, they would be real good. Because the precedent's already set. They'd be Black Knights with essentially like plasma cannons. And like 4 wounds apiece. I mean, they make Azrael look like a little bitch.
Little punk. Oh, man. Whew. And, I keep hearing all this griping about, well, it's the bike, how's that go anywhere? Well, I'm looking at it. I can see some modeling possibilities for some added articulation for that model.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful model. I think for even like orc conversions or
definitely.
Like anything. I'd put the Golden Boys. I'd put those guys on those bikes.
Excuse me.
With the spears. I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
Now, the next army is Genestealer cults. Showing up. Has a Icon Ward, 5 hybrids, 10 neophytes, a Ridge Runner, 10 Pure Strain Genestealers, and a Jackal Alpha.
I hate those guys.
I'm actually surprised on a couple things with this. I'm surprised that it's only 22 power level, because I bet there's another character that could have been 3 or another unit that could have brought that to 25.
Probably. I mean, maybe. Well, I don't know. They've got that neophyte and the hybrid squad are both pretty well armed.
Yeah. I also surprised that they brought a Jackal Alpha, which is the +1 to wound against something on a bike.
Yeah.
Without bringing any of the other bikes. Like, what is the Ridge Runner with the heavy mining laser, that anti-heavy vehicle thing, gonna do for you when no one's really gonna bring a heavy vehicle? Like, why would you bring a las cannon?
Yeah, but the Ridge Runner can put out a lot of damage per shot. So I mean that there's a good possibility of that wiping one of those Primaris bikes a turn.
Yeah. So I would like to. Yeah, you're right. So say they go turn one, the cannon wipes one of the bikes. The other two will kill all five Light Hybrids,
Yeah.
6 of the Pure Strain Genestealers, charge the Neophytes and kill the Neophytes in close combat. Like, I think those bikes are just so gross. But
Oh yeah.
that aside, and Chaos Space Marines, also weirdly a 22 power level army. This one I understand a little more
Yeah.
because
Yeah, these guys have a hard time filling that 3 power level notch right now. I mean, what are you going to get for 3 power level? Maybe some cultists. I can't even remember what those are. I think they might even be 4 or 5.
yeah. But the Master of Possession, the 5 Chaos Space Marines, 2 Oblits, and a Venom Crawler.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fine. Perfectly fine. You got some mortal wounds from the Master of Possession.
Yeah.
Oblits are great at shooting stuff. Venom Crawler's kind of an interesting vehicle take.
Well, and
flamer.
2 in combat patrol, you really got to remember people are gearing up for what they think they're going to go against, or they're gearing up to have what they think no one will be prepared for.
Yeah.
So I mean that could always be the key with the Venom Crawler, and then the Ridge Runner and the Jackal in the Genestealers list. Because I mean, definitely in this Mechanus list that they've got, I wouldn't even dream of taking 3 Cataphrons at 500 points, or a Dune Rider for that matter. I'm not a big fan of the Dune Rider model. If I wanted a topless Jeep, I'd go buy a Hummer and sawzall the top myself.
Oh man, I totally misread this. I thought that this was one of those spider walkers that they took. The like tanks that are you see them in groups
Oh,
of 3 because they buff each other.
Yep.
But no, you're right. That's one of the like
The
D-Day
transports.
transports.
Yeah.
Why? I just
Yeah. And I
put...
mean, maybe because they don't have any speed in this list. So, I mean, maybe for speed, I can't remember what the Dune Riders movement was, but I'm sure it's like everything else Mechanus does, and it's slow.
You're gonna maybe put your 10 dudes in there, maybe your
Yeah.
10 dudes and your tech priest, but then
Yeah.
if you do
Then
put
you've
your
got
10 dudes in it, you got 3 models on the board.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing I can pick apart on this list, I definitely can see the new Mechanus Batwing being a good fit for this list.
Yeah.
Either the actual squad or the flyer.
Yeah, they're hands down better than Swooping Hawks in every way, including points. So I'm a little salt on them, but yeah, they're a really good unit, and they'd be great for that spot.
Yeah,
So
that would be something.
I think now we've beaten Combat Patrol to death, to like literal death, and we'll start moving down on some of the faction focuses because each one should touch on some rules.
Actually, I just want to point out one thing.
Yeah,
In the bullet points from the Combat Patrol, GW is just, in this whole 9th edition release, they've been adding the bullet point notes, and there's a level of comedy that we've never seen in GW in this stuff.
Like fourth wall breaking, self-aware comedy is.
Yeah, I think Ryan Reynolds would be proud right now.
Yeah. So, first guys up, first guys first. Faction focus on Drukhari. They're the most recent to come out. Ryan, you'd already touched on them a little bit. They're cheap, effective, hit hard, but don't necessarily have a great stopping power.
They don't have a ton of backbone in their regular units. I know they're oh god, what are the ones? the two tough units to kill, the Grotesques and the Talos.
Yeah.
Those, but I mean that if I remember right, weren't the Talos something like 200 points apiece or something? Kind of not really crazy, but I remember those being halfway expensive. The Grotesques were meh expensive, but
so I think 10 Grotesques, which is a max size unit. That's not a minimum size unit, but that's like, I don't know, near 300, and I think it was 240 for one Talos.
yeah,
Somewhere around there.
But the Talos could do some work for the 240, so
yeah, I completely agree. They're very hard to kill.
Yeah. So I mean, do you want to have the hard to kill army, or do you want to have the army that's actually going to be able to hold more than one objective ever in the game?
Yeah. And it's interesting that they pointed out here with raiding force for the Dark Eldar. Now, everybody, by taking different detachments, it's actually going to cost you CP. So it really benefits a lot of armies to build around one buff, one, like, I'm not just building Space Marines, but I'm building the Ultramarines army. Because I don't want to spend... Well, I mean, yeah, but I don't want to spend more CP to bring a different detachment.
Yeah.
Just to bring something else.
Because, I mean, why mix in Space Wolves and Dark Angels and Ultramarines? That'd be the worst family reunion ever.
Yeah, and before, when bringing an extra detachment actually gave you CP, so there was a benefit on top of a benefit to just have these guys and different guys with you. The raiding force for the Dark Eldar, they're actually giving you 4 command points if you take 3 patrol detachments, and they're giving you 8 command points if you bring 6 patrol detachments. So, I think we're already going to see that this is great in practice. Like, GW thinks it's going to be awesome, and it could be awesome from a GW standpoint, but we still see a lot of competitive tournaments giving the 3 detachment maximum, which completely, like, just... throws this rule out the window. You're not going to...
Well, in 2, we may see the 3 detachment maximum go out the window now. Because when you have to pay CP to take the detachments, I think that's going to, like you said, limit a lot of it. And I think we're going to be coming into a new age of list building that only the fluffy guys really know. Because a lot of, not like chubby fluffy, I know we've got a lot of those too. I'm speaking from personal experience. But because I know Ken and myself, and I think that's about it out of our group. We're both very big on one detachment, one cohesive force. We're going in. We're not Inquisition. We're not pulling one unit from every army in 19 sectors.
Yeah.
But I think this, we're gonna be coming into a new age of list building too. So, the aircraft engagement section here is interesting.
Yeah. So before my eyes roll in the back of my head and I glaze over because I already worked a full day today, we'll just run through this real quick. Although aircraft models have an engagement range like any other model, the following rules and exceptions apply to it. This will account for the fact that typically aircraft models are soaring overhead and not skimming along the ground. So 2 of the 3 sentences were fluff and didn't need to be written, but we know that there's rules lawyers out there, so thank you guys for having GW to make them have to do this. Whenever a model makes any kind of move, it could be moved across...
Semicolon.
It could be moved across aircraft models and their bases as if they were not there. They could be moved within enemy aircraft models' engagement range, but it cannot end the move on top of another model or its base, and it cannot end the move within engagement range of any enemy aircraft models. So you're still going to see planes able to screen armies, but the model and its base have to be so close to the army now that the the charging unit cannot physically place models on the other side of the plane. Like before, you weren't supposed to be able to, you couldn't charge the plane and you couldn't move over the plane's base. So you were able to like do some weird wall off situations without ever being that close to your units. And now you could still stop enemy charges with your planes. They just have to be like unit plane base right next to it, so that the physical end of that model's charge could not be placed like anywhere. And then if when an aircraft unit is selected to move in the movement phase, any enemy units are within engagement range of it, the aircraft unit can still make a normal move and or advance, i.e. it does not have to fall back or remain stationary. If when a unit is selected to move in the movement phase, the only enemy models within engagement range of it are an aircraft, then it still makes a normal move or advanced. Basically, aircrafts do not affect things on the ground. They could have written one sentence to say that, and that's what it is. Huh. Got it. Aircrafts
What?
don't affect movement of things on the ground.
We're gonna have to call someone that's good in legalese here, because yeah, I think you got the nail on the head there. I'm assuming if they're in combat still like normal, they can move out. But yeah, I'm gonna have to wait for the rule book so I can maybe sit there and reread the same page for 9 hours like I normally have to with this stuff.
Yeah. They showed some of the, scrolling down a little further, the eviscerating charge from the Reavers, which are their jet bike variants.
Yep.
If they move over something, you get to roll a d6 for every model in the unit. On 6+, they suffer a mortal wound. Interesting things about this, there's no cap. So it's not like a bomb where it says every model in the unit up to 10.
Yep.
You got 30 witches there. I'm rolling 30 dice.
Yep.
And it's +1 if the enemy unit is infantry. So fly over 30 orcs. That means on 5s and 6s, those orcs die. You're killing 10.
Mm-hmm.
Which 1 CP
That's...
to 10 mortal wounds on 1 CP is pretty nice.
Yeah. Going on to the next listing, the witches. No escape. Roll off if an infantry unit within 1 inch of an enemy model of this with this ability wishes to fall back. The unit can only fall back if the player controlling it wins the roll off. So,
that's real good.
Yeah, like I said, low cost unit, decently able to handle itself in combat.
Now,
Not hugely survivable, but I mean, that ability makes it a little better.
yeah. I think that ability got hit a little bit in this 9th edition rules because of the vehicles being able to shoot in close combat.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
normally in 8th you could just touch a rhino or touch a
Yeah,
Lumen Russ,
a Land Raider.
and it couldn't shoot, and on a roll off it couldn't fall back.
Yeah.
So now it'll try and fall back, and if it doesn't, it's just gonna blast everything into that witch squad, which is still good. That witch squad's probably 60 points, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
And if a 250 point Land Raider is spending its entire turn shooting off witches that are just holding it down,
Yeah.
I think that's...
Yeah, I'd say it's an even trade.
Yeah, and then the Razorwing Jet Fighter, they don't release any stratagems, but it's
Eldar
it's and Dark
Eldar
flyers.
is flyer.
They've always been good. Jumping in the next one.
Yep.
Tau.
Okay.
Is the
Ugh.
latest. I know. We got to all make fun of Tau for like a week. It was great.
I'm starting to feel sick. I think my computer's getting a virus looking at this.
I would, yeah. I think there's a lot of people that are hating on Tau, but they just got their game-breaking rule.
Yeah.
I think everybody's gonna get something that's game-breaking, but they got a couple things that are great for them. They're a 4+ ballistic skill average army, and with minuses to hit being capped at 1, that means everything in your army is going to hit on 5s, worst case scenario.
Yep.
So they have higher than average shooting strength for their weapons, higher than average AP for their weapons. Now that they're not hampered by any extra negatives to hit, they can spend that CP to really hurt you in the shooting phase.
But I mean, come on, if Tau ever really hurt anyone... Oh, wait.
Yeah, I think they
Riptide
have.
Wing.
I still think, hopefully they didn't release anything here about Riptides, but hopefully Riptides will get the Wraith Knight
treatment.
8th edition treatment, where they just kind of get pointed,
disappear forever.
And they get pointed to the point where they're out of the meta for a little while. It doesn't mean that Tau don't have other great options that will just replace the Riptide, that you'll still see castled around 60 drones, but the Riptide is a force to be reckoned with. Desperate Breakout for 2 CP. I'm not sure I'll ever see this happen. I'm not sure I'll ever want to do this, but it's a core stratagem. Everyone's got access to it. Use this stratagem in your own movement phase. You select one unit from your army that has not been selected to move in this phase yet, and which is in engagement range, so they're in combat, with at least one enemy unit. Roll a d6 for each model in your unit. For each one, you destroy a model in that unit of your choice. Assuming that the unit's not destroyed by this, you could now attempt to fall back. When doing so, you can move across models as if they were not there. Any model in the unit that ends its fallback move within engagement range of an enemy model is still destroyed. Assuming that the unit is not destroyed, it cannot do anything else this turn. It cannot manifest psychic powers, it cannot shoot, declare a charge, or be selected to fight. So, what they're saying is, this is beneficial if you get wrapped, so that you can't get out. You have to take a dice roll on an 18% chance for your own things to die. And then on top of that, your movement of 6 inches or whatever has to get you out of the wrap, out of the other model, and out of the engagement range of the enemy that's wrapping you. Plus, you have to maintain unit coherency. So, if you're doing this, anything that doesn't maintain unit coherency and doesn't get out of the fight dies. And then they brought out the morale stuff, which morale seems to be more of a constant slow burn now than it was before, which was kind of an all or nothing. So you're taking a bunch of units that's being killed on your unit on your own turn, and then probably taking morale on that same unit. So you're looking at losing about a third, if not like a half of your unit by doing this. And it's costing you 2 CP. Like, I don't see any upside to this.
You know, seppuku was a valid idea, but I don't see... I guess I don't see the... I take that back. I can see one use for it. You're wrapped in combat, last turn of the game, objective's right there. All you gotta do is clear that unit.
Yeah, that's true.
Provided you have 2 CP left in the last turn of the game, more power to you.
And
but
I think the way that you score CPs now, that's going to be more and more the case, too, because you get a CP at the start of each player's turn.
Yeah.
So if you're going second, you have 2 extra CP to your opponent only have 1 extra CP on his turn.
Yeah.
So you'll have the 2 to try this on the last turn of the game if you're going second.
But, and 2, in the little fluff note they've got right above it, it says new screening units like Kroot. Last I remember, Kroot was a max 20 for the Kroot warriors or whatever they were.
Yep.
So, I mean, if somebody's using them, you can still get 10 Kroot out of that combat. I mean, that's still more than enough to hold a objective, so we'll see.
That, or I thought maybe while we're talking about it, scatter bikes, like Eldar bikes, things that have like really large movement ranges,
Yeah.
can, if you get engaged and you don't kill them all, they can get out.
Yeah.
And then the change to the Tau Greater Good. Everyone got to make fun of Tau for a little while when Overwatch got turned off, which we'll touch on later. But basically, Overwatch is a stratagem, and Tau's big thing is that they could not only fire Overwatch, but everything around them can fire Overwatch. So when it was changed to a stratagem, everyone thought Tau were destroyed, but no, GW has thought of this. Obviously, they've thought of the entire 9th edition stuff already. So they changed their Greater Good to say that every unit that has the Greater Good can fire Overwatch as normal. Does not need to spend the CP for it.
Yay!
Which is crazy, because that's essentially
Jackass.
giving Tau free CP every time they fire Overwatch. And you want to get into close combat with Tau, because that's where you're going to be better.
I don't know. There's still 4-up armor, aren't they?
Yeah, 4 or 5, depending on if you're looking at suits or...
Yeah, suits or big
or,
suits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see on that. I'm still not huge on the idea that the Overwatch... I mean, Tau Overwatch is overpowered. Always has been. And apparently will continue to be. But I think we're going to be seeing some big points changes for them. And I think that's going to be kind of the saving grace for a lot of people.
Yeah. It may push them into more Kroot, more Vespids,
Yep.
more non-Tau units to help facilitate and fill out your Tau. And those units don't have the Greater Good, so...
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see something here. I am interested to see if I'll ever actually see a Storm Surge on the field, but I think I've only ever seen maybe one at a tournament. I think CK was running it.
And Victor Von Champ just hey guys, first of all, great to see you. And then second of all, we're very sorry that AdMech got boned in points. Yes, you did, and yes, it does suck. But I will also say, Victor, who called it on AdMech being the next the next faction focus coming out? He's got 2 thumbs, and he's sitting right here. This guy. So I didn't call any of the other ones. I was completely wrong about everything else. But I got AdMech coming out, and we'll cover that. AdMech will be next. We're going in like reverse chronological order, so we haven't hit AdMech yet. But yeah, that's enough about Tau. We don't need to talk about Tau anymore.
Yeah, thank you. I'll try to repress my gag reflex further.
I think the next thing to touch on that's not a faction focus, but what do you think about this comic?
I'm interested. I don't know. Let me look here. Did they announce an artist? Let's see. They got a writer. Okay, there we go. Jason Burrows. I
don't know of any other stuff from Jason Burrows, but it looks good.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested. I think it'll be like a lot of the D&D style comics that I've gotten. It's one of those I enjoy them. So long as the story holds up, I can give it a pass on the art.
Yeah. I think it's going to be great. It's another step forward into getting GW into a more mainstream audience. Because now it's not... People that don't necessarily play 40K are going to be reading comics on 40K, and maybe they get into doing other stuff. And then, Victor, your AdMech, take a look at those winged dudes. I definitely think that's something.
Flappy birds.
Those flappy guys, because 5 shots apiece, even though they're strength 3, 5 shots apiece, when they come down, they drop the bombs. They're like they're real close to swooping hawks for Eldar, which were decent at clearing Imperial Guard or witches or Tyranid Griblies like Gaunts and stuff. So um, I definitely think a unit of those or 2 units of those are going to be worth it. And they're new units, so GW's been pretty lenient with the pointing of those so far.
Yeah,
Definitely something to look at.
yeah, we'll see how far the point work goes on those. 'Cause I got a feeling they're going to get the early Primaris treatment and actually come down further into the edition.
Yeah, yeah. So the next faction focus that we're gonna touch on and hit on is the Imperial Guard. I definitely think that this Imperial Guard is another army that is going to be helped a lot by the rules in 9th edition.
Oh, yeah.
They're,
Yeah, I definitely see them going back to a very vehicle-heavy meta. Because, I mean, rule of 3 be damned. 9 Lehman Russes, that's something nobody likes seeing.
yeah.
I mean, even Chimeras, Hydras, any of them. I don't want to see multiple tanks. Back in 3rd, that was something you never wanted to see. More than one tank in an army meant somebody knew what they were doing. Or they were just going to pound you like the nail that sat an inch too high.
Yeah. Yeah, with all the buffs to vehicles, being able to shoot in combat, all the modifiers being capped at 1.
Yeah.
Basically, you're going to see 9 Lehman Russes and a Baneblade, 9 Lehman Russes, 3 Lehman Russ commanders, and some artillery.
A Baneblade.
It'll be craziness.
Yeah.
So in the faction focus for Guard, it's where they dropped combat attrition. So now morale is not only 1 roll, it's 2 separate rolls. So the first one is the same as it's always been. You take a morale test when stuff has died in the morale phase. It's a d6 plus the number of units that have died. 1 always succeeds. If your dice roll is higher than your leadership, 1 model flees. There you go.
Yep. Okay, no big loss there.
But then...
Yeah, the part that hurts.
Yeah, if you fail that roll, then you have to take a combat attrition test. So a combat attrition test, a second test, is done where you roll a d6 for each remaining model in the unit. For each 1, an additional model flees. Subtract 1 from the combat attrition test if the unit is below half strength. So that means on 1s and 2s.
Yeah. So pretty much it turns into, oh, hey, the commissar's not looking. I'm going on an ammo run. Hey, Bob, come here. Come on. Let's go get some ammo.
Yes. So I don't see anything there yet that says you have to take this test only if you lost models during the turn.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me feel like Tyranids outside of Synapse are going to get hurt real hard by this. Because if you're looking at a leadership 5 unit,
yeah,
if you have to roll morale every turn, even if you didn't lose anybody, you're losing a good 1/3 to a 1/6 of every unit you have that's outside of Synapse.
Well, and I mean, you know as well as I do, everybody always talks of Tyranids being outside of Synapse, unless they change the list of models that have Synapse. It's not hard to keep your board covered, or to keep your force covered.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you'd have to be really, truly running just a total sea of gaunts to have to worry about Synapse being an issue.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely ways for Synapse to be less of an issue, but
Yeah,
with uh, I guess they didn't change the character rule too much, so you still can hide your characters.
yeah.
Some of those big Synapse creatures, though, not characters, and they definitely can be shot out from under you.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, that still, the Hive Tyrant, we weren't able to target them unless they were flying, right?
Even if they were flying, they could still hide. But
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
the
because
the
Tyranids.
yeah, the flying ones. The problem with them is they usually ram them down your throat because of how fast they can move.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're the closest, then they can't hide anyway. So if they're running out in front of the army, you shoot them down. And the rest of the army usually couldn't keep up with Hive Tyrant on wings unless you were slingshotting Genestealers up into people's
Yeah.
faces. So there's that Hail of Fire for the Lehman Russes that basically said for a single Lehman Russ they don't have to roll dice anymore. They just take the max value.
Yep. Big plus.
So good.
How many Punishers can you fit into a list?
Well, this doesn't help the Punisher because the Punisher is just a straight number of shots. I'm thinking Catachin Plasma. Because the D6 cannon on the top, you get to shoot it twice. So you'll overheat it, shoot 12 top plasma shots overheated, and then you have your 2 plasma sponsons, and then you're shooting 3 shots out of each of those. So 6, 12, 15, 18, strength 8, minus 3 shots, 2 damage apiece.
Yeah.
It's good. And that's just one. That's one Lehman Russ. You
Yep.
got 10 or more shooting a bunch of other stuff there too. And the reason I like Plasma is because it gives you the strength to deal with vehicles, but it also gives you a little bit of volume of fire to deal with infantry blobs too. You're right. The Punisher gives you way more shots. You can mow down orc hordes with the Punisher cannon.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah, you can just about kill an entire unit in one shooting phase between that and morale.
Yeah, I agree. And then the next stratagem they're showing, Go Recon, is basically you take Scout Sentinels and you move them 2d6 in their shooting phase, but they can't shoot or charge that turn. I don't like it. I think it's okay, and it has the potential to be good. So it has a real good ceiling, like a high ceiling. Because if you need that model to move 8 or 10 inches, it's a possibility. But you spend a CP and then you snake eyes that roll. They're not shooting that turn, and they move 2 inches.
Yeah, but I mean, really, what's the standard loadout for Scout Sentinel? Las Cannon?
Las Cannon, you might see more las
Multi-laser?
cannons.
Heavy Flamer?
Missile launcher.
Yeah. But, I mean, 1 CP to maybe get him the extra 6 inches to grab an objective, I'd say worth it.
I didn't see it at the first. You could use this to get out of combat.
Mm-hmm.
You get charged by something, 1 CP, you essentially fall back without having to...
You got a 12-inch charge and you're 9 away? Hang on just a second. Let me spend a CP here. And oh, darn, I'm 14 away now. Sorry.
But you have to use it during your shooting phase.
Yeah.
So you could still do that math, but you got to do it in a slightly different time. Then drift maneuvering. Use a stratagem in your opponent's shooting phase when an armored sentinel unit from your army is chosen as the target of an attack. Until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made against that unit, half any damage inflicted. Or deft maneuvering, sorry.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I can see a use for it.
I don't know, like maybe now that everyone's getting more CPs, you'll see more of a use for these kind of niche things. But I don't see people bringing a whole lot of armored sentinels.
I
That
don't
might be
really
wrong.
remember seeing a lot of armored sentinels before, so
Yeah. Hellhounds. I have seen a lot of hellhounds. So for
yeah,
one
seen a lot of
CP,
Forge World Hellhounds.
yeah, splash damage. Use a stratagem in the shooting phase when a hellhound model from your army is chosen to shoot with. Until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made with its chem cannon, inferno cannon, or melta cannon by that model
Oh,
against a unit that is receiving the benefit of cover, you can re-roll the wound rolls.
yep.
Whew.
And that little peek behind the shade there, options for cannons.
I think that is not a peek behind the shade. I think that's
I don't. Yeah, I don't remember.
uh, so all the Forge World variants still have the Hellhound keyword, but one of
Mm-hmm.
the Forge World variants has the Inferno cannon and the other one has the Melta cannon. So
Oh,
I think
okay,
they're just
gotcha.
saying that this stratagem works for
Will
both the
work for.
GW one and the Forge World ones.
Okay.
Because the GW one only has the Chem cannon.
All right, gotcha. Sorry, out
You're
of
good.
touch with the Imperial Guard.
You're good. You're good.
Or sorry, Astra Militara, what 'em.
Yeah. Yeah. Just change all the names so that we can copyright them, essentially.
Yeah.
Psychic Barrier for the Bogram. Psychic Barrier has a warp charge value of 6 if manifested. Select a friendly Astra Militarum unit within 12 inches until your next second phase. Add 1 to the unit's saving throws. And this unit has a 3-up invul, I believe, from those giant shields.
The slab shields, I think they were.
Yeah.
So I mean that's definitely tough. You throw them in cover, and yeah, you're gonna have a hard time getting them out of there.
Yeah. With the +1 to save, too. Wyverns. Uh, so this is gross. They already said Wyverns are blast weapons now. So the
Ugh.
Storm Shard Mortar, 48-inch range, heavy 4d6. So this weapon can target a unit that's not visible to it, strength 4, damage 1. Which means that if that unit has more than 11 models, it is a flat 24 hit, 24 shots.
By orcs.
Yeah, like that's so gross.
That would actually, because isn't the Wyvern, wasn't there a Forge World turret
You just put
of the
on a
Wyvern
Chimera
cannon?
chassis. Yeah, yeah,
Huh?
yeah. You could buy just that turret and mount it on a. I think it's a Chimera chassis.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I can definitely see it having a good run.
Yeah, if this is a 200-point model, that's about 600 points to your army. That's just dedicated anti-infantry,
Yeah.
and it will just delete units.
Yep. Okay.
That's yeah. Again,
Yeah.
super gross. But that's Astra Militarum for you. Master Your Strategy came up next. It just to kind of speed through it, talked about the
Yep.
strategic reserves. So basically, any unit can be put in reserves now. It's based on the power level of the combined amount of reserves you have. So if you have one unit that's 4 and one unit that's 5, that counts as a combined power level of 9. So 1 CP to put them both in reserve. Of course, things that already go in reserve are exempt from this. So things like drop pods, things that go in drop pods, the Terminators that are dropping down on their own,
Teleporters.
all
Yep.
that stuff exempt from this. This is,
Demons.
well, the demons, it's interesting. It goes back and forth on what's better to do. Because the
Mhm.
demon stratagems to put them in reserve are based on the unit's power level. So, 2 4 power level things cost more CP than to put them together in your combined reserve because they're only 8 power level and they cost 1 total. So, you're going to see it go different ways
Yeah.
as a demon player on how you want to put your stuff in reserve. Because you want to maximize the efficiency of the CPs that you use.
Yep.
It's tiered. battle system now. So battle round 1. So battle round means both yours and opponent's turn. Battle round 1, no reserves at all. Battle round 2, you can set up wholly within 6 inches of any battlefield edge, not an enemy battlefield edge or an enemy deployment zone. So that's your deployment zone and both of the side edges up until where it hits your enemy deployment zone. Then you get battle round 3, you get your deployment zone and all of the sides, including the sides that are in your enemy's deployment zone. And then after battle round 3, everything's dead as normal, or just like they were in now. Strategic reserves cannot make a normal move, advance, or fall back the turn they come in. You could still do crazy movement shenanigans with warp time. You could charge after this. You could do to jump. You could do a bunch of stuff with it. Strategic unit reserve units always count as having moved for shooting and other things, and any strategic reserve unit not set up on the battlefield by the end of the battle counts as destroyed. So
sounds fun.
Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be some armies that bringing your units on as reserves are going to be better for you in the long run. Gun line units especially.
You want to have something to be able to play later in the game.
Yep. And something that comes out real close to your enemy, because you can come out about 9 inches away. Doesn't mean you're not going to get blasted off the board, but still.
But coming in inside rapid fire range already.
Yeah, definitely good. Tyranids is our next faction focus. They're the horde style bug. I think bug army, they're going to get a lot of interesting buffs. They talk about how they could use their drop pods, just like Space Marines could use their drop pods.
Yeah, good for them.
I haven't seen the big bugs use drop pods very much at all, but because there's no doors to them, so they can't do any weird stuff with that.
Yeah.
But they can shoot in close combat now, so that's interesting.
Helpful. What cannons did those have? I can't remember.
So one came with 4 of the 6-shot Strength 5 AP1 cannons. So it put out 16 shots, Strength 5 AP1. And the other one had the Spore Mine Launcher.
Okay.
So it launched D3 mines that dealt mortal wounds, which was interesting.
Yeah. I can see more use for that.
They also came out with, in this Tyranid faction focus, the dense cover rules. So this is one of the multiple types of cover that they brought in. Now this one, they should have just called trees.
Yeah.
Because I will read it, and they take a very long time describing what a tree is without saying a tree, and then say what a forest would do. So if you want to sum this whole thing up, basically is if your forest has a top of a tree that is higher than 3 inches, you can call the forest dense. And then units that are in the forest are -1 to be shot at. And vehicles that are less than 18 inches or 18 wounds are also -1 to be shot at if they're in the forest or blocked by the forest. Which means...
Wait, you mean if I'm standing behind the forest, I actually get the benefits of the forest?
You do.
Oh, sorry.
There is...
Sarcasm was bleeding through a little heavy there.
Yeah, it actually makes sense compared to some things now where if you're not in the terrain, you don't count as the benefits of the terrain. This one does count if you're shooting through it to hit something on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
The way that it's worded, though, is that to get around it, the only time you won't get the benefit of shooting through the terrain is if that unit can see 100% of the hull or the base of every model in the unit, which there's a lot of words there, but it says
Yeah.
if you're not blocked by a tree, you don't take the benefit of being blocked by a tree.
Yeah.
Simple as that. The benefit of being blocked by a tree is that you're -1 to be hit. I think that a lot of things will already have -1 to be hit, so the tree being there doesn't have that big a benefit. But if you're an entire Tau gun line, you're going to want to just hang out inside a forest to give yourself -1 to be hit. If you're in the forest, you don't take the -1 penalty shooting out of it. So it's kind of a one-sided benefit to no penalty, which is nice. And then again, 18 plus, so your knights and your big tanks don't get to have a tree block them being shot at. Old One Eye, the named character Carnifex, he gets to add 1 to hit rolls in the fight phase for high fleet Carnifexes that were within 6 inches of him. They normally hit on 3s, so hitting on 2s in close combat with Crushing Claws, super good. You got to get him to close combat, which is the rough part. But
Yeah.
And then Acid Spray, from the Tyrannofex model, basically an 18-inch 2d6 strength user flamer. I believe they're strength 6. So strength 6, -1 d3 damage. With the new blast rules, if this is a blast weapon, that's 12 hits, strength user, -1 AP, d3 damage, and it automatically hits. So
Yeah, that's sick.
So just 12 orcs die. Like, that's so good. But that being said, if you're charging this thing with 30 orcs, 12 of them die, then 18 make it in. The 18 are still beating this thing to death because they're getting 4 or 5 attacks apiece. They may get warp, like pluses to their strength or the spells to modify them. So even though they get a nice like Overwatch volley off, it's not really gonna help you in an Overwatch setting against 30 orcs or anything that'll turn off Overwatch. And in this thing, in this 9th edition, one of your units gets to fire Overwatch, and you have to pay for it with CP. Tyranid Warriors, they're a troop choice that generates synapse, so that's always been good for Tyranids to have. If you're a army that's worried about getting your synapse out there, having some extra Tyranid Warriors has been nice. They come very customizable. You can give them heavy weapons, you can give them melee weapons. They're like 3 or 4 wounds a base, which is nice. 3 up save, toughness 4, strength 4. They were Primaris Marines before Primaris Marines. But they're pointed significantly higher than Primaris Marines per model.
Yeah, I think they were around 30 points apiece.
Yeah. And then there's stratagem for 1 CP in the charge phase or your opponent's shooting phase when a Tyranid Prime or Tyranid Warrior unit from your army is chosen as the target of an attack made with a ranged weapon until the end of the phase. When resolving an attack with that ranged weapon against that unit, reduce the damage characteristic of that weapon by 1 to a minimum of 1. So maybe damage 2 weapons, or you're not really shooting them with las cannons anyway.
Well, Plasma Primaris.
Plasma would work. That is a good unit for this. But you could bolter these guys down pretty effectively.
Oh, yeah.
So 1 damage weapons, you're not going to use this stratagem to defend yourself. And then we're at Eldar already.
Yay!
The Eldar. So they talk about how they want to play them in the new edition, which is bike heavy, basically. So your characters are on bikes, your warlocks on bikes, your farseers on bikes, your autarchs on bikes. You got bikes with scatter lasers that aren't taking minuses to hit. Basically, you don't want to get touched in close combat at all because you can't fall back and still shoot. If you fall back, you can't fall back far enough to get away from not getting charged again the next turn. So that's rough. But they do allow you to hide your characters. You have a plethora of psychic spells that you can choose from. To rival Tzeentch, you've got 2 different psychic disciplines, and one of the disciplines has essentially 2 spells for every spell, so tons of different variety in your psychic output. But I don't see a lot of benefit in this. You may get, like, they did point out that you're allowed to pick your own secondaries in 9th edition, and there's some secondaries that are good if you have a lot of high movement, high board control stuff going on. So Eldar are known, and I still think they will have very high movement. So getting a unit in all 4 corners is going to be rather easy. But if you do that for a turn, Ryan will just charge me with everything that's in his zone and then eat it.
Usually.
He can't fall back and shoot. And even if it does fall back and doesn't shoot, he will just move and then charge it again and then slowly kill everything I have. They talk about Shining Spears being a good unit for him. They always have been. They always will be. Shining Spears are good.
I can't remember. Weren't they a little expensive for what they were pulling off in 8th edition?
They were. You usually only brought 1 max unit of it because you just put a bunch of psychic powers behind it to buff the piss out of them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you had one big unit of Shining Spears. Night Spinners are good. 48-inch range, kind of like a Wyvern. They don't need to see what they hit. Strength 7, 2 damage apiece. Heavy 2d6, but they're blast. So that's 12 automatic hits if the unit has 12 automatic hits if the unit has 11 or more. Or if you're bigger than 5, i.e. your Hellblaster, that's at least 6 hits.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got your Hellblaster unit at 10. I'm going to hit you at least 6 times with Strength 7, 2 damage pieces. And every wound roll of 6 is at AP -4 instead of AP 0. So goodbye, Hellblasters. Boom, 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 boom.
No pity.
But what they don't talk about is because they're blast and because this unit has fly, if it gets touched, it can't shoot. Because you can't shoot blast weapons in close combat when you're in close combat, and you can't fall back with fly and still shoot. So screen this, because as soon as it gets touched, it will die. Dire Avengers.
And speaking of the screening unit,
Dire Avengers, Avenging Strike, so they get to add 1 to their hit rolls and 1 to their wound rolls if they've taken wounds.
Yeah.
So the big problem I've seen with Dire Avengers is that they're a 5-man squad that will die in 1 turn of shooting or 1 turn of close combat. There's very little times that you're not losing all 5 of your Dire Avengers in 1 fell swoop to even get these Avenging Strikes to trigger.
Yeah, because they're still, or they were still toughness 3, weren't they?
Yes. Still,
our
whole army's toughness 3 on infantry.
But yeah, it's seeing goods and bads here.
Yeah. I'm not sure I want to play them the way that they say they get played, which is the character and bike heavy. Yes, I own some bikes, but do I really want to buy a lot more bikes so that I can be only bikes? No, I don't. So they may be on the shelf for a little while. I think we're coming up on the end because the next one is AdMech, and that'll be the last one for us of the faction focuses. Then I think, Ryan, if you want to talk a little bit about just what you've been working on.
Yeah.
And then after we do the faction focus, and we'll kind of clean up. But
okay.
AdMech, they got a lot of new releases, a lot of great new models coming out. Like you said, I'm not super impressed with the vehicles, like that little
Oh,
tank and the plane.
oh, come on! We all love World War II inspiration in our space age sci-fi.
Yeah, I mean, it shows all 4 variants of the tank. Maybe the one in the back left with the giant cannon on it
Mm-hmm.
would be good, but Desperate Breakout, they talked about again here.
Yep.
And then key units, the Cataphracti battle servitors, or Cataphron battle servitors, they're basically giant plasma cannons, which is great.
Yeah.
They get a 5-up feel no pain, so they're super durable. The Dune Riders, I don't necessarily think that you are going to see them in the battle. Their stratagem is that they can disembark one of them for 0 CPs and not explode. But, like,
Yeah.
okay.
That does look like a beautiful picture of the Getting Started box set, though.
Yeah. Things that I don't think are talked about here that are very good with AdMech, if you're interested in doing AdMech stuff. The dudes with the jump wings that are flyers, I think are great models. I think they're pointed extremely appropriately for the hurt that they could put out on Toughness 3, low armor stuff. I think they're great screen killers for infantry. I think they're great. Like just a guy has a cultist squad on an objective. They swoop down, they bomb something for a couple mortals, maybe. Then they shoot the cultist squad off the objective. Next turn they go back up, or next turn they move and keep shooting the soft targets. If you could shoot all your soft targets from your opponent off objectives, that means that they have to use resources that they weren't planning on holding objectives to get back there and hold them. So definitely worth it.
Yeah. And that's definitely something I think a lot of people overlook is the soft targets 9 times out of 10 are going to be the ones holding the objectives, not the giant tank or not the one command unit. So with the new way we're seeing the play style going, don't forget to shoot soft targets.
Yeah, and especially with everything being so control objective heavy.
Yeah.
That's how they're going to score their points. Not necessarily killing you, but by holding the objectives.
Yep.
So, I kind of... Did I miss anything, Ryan? Is there anything that you saw while you...
Just this evacuation sequence stratagem that they've got. Not a lot to talk about, but... Well, no, you did hit on that one. Sorry, I totally blanked on that.
You're good.
So,
so what are you working on nowadays in 40K?
Still picking away at the Eldar Forge World stuff I've got. Nothing major. Haven't had a lot of time this week to make headway on it. I go in cycles with work, and I'll go normally about 1 week a month. I'll just get my butt handed to me at work, and this is that week. Every day this week I've been coming home and going to sleep.
Yeah,
so
I feel you on that. We've been doing a ton of work, and it just seems like maybe next week won't be as bad, especially since it's a short week. Is it a short week for you as well?
Yeah, being as it's only 5 days.
Oh, okay.
I've been doing a lot of 6 and 7 day, and ever since the whole quarantine thing started. So, and nobody worry about me. I work at a meat packing plant. I'm not in the medical field, but it's definitely not shorting anybody on their meat orders anytime soon or ever. So,
yeah. There was worry, like, right when COVID started, that chicken was going to have some sort of issue, but
yeah,
I didn't notice that at all. I didn't.
We didn't. I know some of our friends down in Indianapolis, they were having issues, but I think that was more just supply chain breakdown more than actual supply.
Yeah. So, what are you like? What are you most excited about for ninth? And actually, from the stuff, because we're darn near close. I think by the end of July we'll have at least a date for the new box, if not the new box in hand.
Yeah, I think some of the play testers I was listening to today were saying they're estimating the end of next month. So very possibly in the next month we may have the new boxes in hand. But I'm definitely looking forward to being back to more melee focused. Melee's my jazz, man.
Yeah.
I every time I try to build a shooty army, it turns into a sword and board army.
Yeah.
I can't help it.
And I definitely think with melee focus, the way that you play a lot will help. Just a ton of dreadnoughts, because
Oh
dreadnoughts
yeah.
will. I mean, they're not really infantry, so a lot of the anti-infantry weapons won't hurt them as bad, and you have a tendency of running them down people's throats anyway. So getting into
No.
combat is not necessarily a downside to that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the new rule set in hand and seeing seeing what adjustments I have to make to my personal play style to see how things work out. So definitely looking forward to getting back to some events and getting out of the house again is one of my biggest hopes and aspirations here.
Yeah. When do you know we're in Michigan, by the way, but do you know when they're gonna like open up to go to movies? Or I think a lot of people around just have stopped caring. I don't see a lot of
Yeah.
people wearing masks anymore, or a lot of people like
I think I've been, God forbid I say it aloud, I've been traveling a little bit more, bouncing around our local area, some of the bigger cities. I think it's a lot of the localities that are pushing it harder, the smaller cities and townships that are really making the push on the masks around us. So
I have a quick question that's due to just where you're located at. Is that ice cream place near you still open?
yeah, they're open. I can't remember when they open in the afternoon, like 3 or something. They're running limited hours, but yes, they're open.
Because we got the little terrors, the chitlins are with us this week.
Ooh, lucky.
So we're thinking about they should be here later tonight, but sometime in the next over the weekend or maybe the next week we're gonna maybe take a trip down to that ice cream spot.
Oh, definitely.
But
So
yeah, just to wrap things up, I try to wrap up all these shows to thank all you guys. For those of you that watch this live, like Victor Von Champ, a lot of times Nurgle Matt's in here to talk to us, and anyone who's not catching us live and catching us on YouTube, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you'd like to see any more of our content, we're kind of a Monday, Friday, Saturday show kind of team. Mondays and Fridays contents at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, 5 o'clock ish, and then the content on Saturdays is a 1 o'clock show. So we're 40K oriented, and I just want to hope all you guys are staying safe out there, and thank you. And then Ryan, do you have anything you want to try and plug?
not particularly. Just like Brandon said, check us out on Twitch, YouTube, anywhere you find us. Hopefully, you'll be seeing us at events here before too long. So definitely be safe and look forward to seeing you at an event.
All right. Have a good one, guys.